It is Wednesday, January the 19th, 2022, polling day in Barbados. I'm Pearson Bowen. This is the CBC Morning Report. The High Court has dismissed the application seeking an injunction to postpone today's general election. Madam Justice Cicely Chase handed down the decision late yesterday evening, several hours of deliberation. Madam Justice Chase said the proper forum to hear the case would be the Election Court and not the High Court. She said with no jurisdiction to determine the matter, the High Court cannot entertain the claimant's application for injunctive relief and therefore could make no order. The decision effectively paves the way for general elections to go forward today as planned. And polling stations are open now at 6 o'clock with 30 constituencies. CBC will have reports and updates throughout the day on TV8, radio stations and social media, culminating with our live coverage of Barbados Decides at 8 o'clock this evening. But we start with the early voting. Let's go to our first reporter in the north of the island in the constituency of St. Lucie. At the Darrell Jordan School, that's where we'll find Sharika Griffith. Sharika, good morning.
Good morning to you, Pearson. I've actually gone a little further than the Darrell Jordan School. I'm at St. Lucie Primary School at the moment. And as you said, the early voters, from my count so far, there are about 10 people in line. At the top of the hour, we saw the returning officer come out and make the declaration that the polls were officially open. They usually do the opening of the boxes so that you can see that they are in fact empty at the start of the day. And so we've not seen anyone enter the polling station just yet. But like I said, there are about 10 people in line at the moment. Of course, you know, there are 3 people contesting for the seat in St. Lucie. We have the Democratic Labour Party candidate and president, Verla de Pisa. We have Peter Phillips, the incumbent from the Barbados Labour Party, and Wayne Griffith from the Alliance Party for Progress. Those are the 3 who will be seeking to get the nod from the electorate right here in the constituency of St. Lucie. It's still pretty dark. We haven't seen the sunrise just yet, but there are a few people. I got here around 5:30, and there were already 2 people in line when I got here, and I've seen a slow trickle since then. So about 10 people in line so far. You know, no major activity just yet, but that's where we are for right now at the St. Lucie Primary School. And of course, I'll be keeping you updated as the morning goes on.
Sharika, we're operating in the pandemic, and naturally protocols have been put in place to ensure that these protocols are followed. Do you see any monitors around so who can ensure that they are applied and complied with?
Well, I haven't seen, like I said, anyone go in as yet. I know that the Electoral and Boundaries Commission had said basically that people will be sanitized, temperature checks will be done. So far, I can confirm that everyone I see is wearing masks. There is some social distancing going on, so at least those 2 protocols I have been able to observe as already. But like I said, no one has gone in just yet, so I haven't been able to actually observe the temperature checks and the sanitizing just yet.
All right, Sharika, we'll be checking in with you a little later on. Thank you so much for reporting from St. Lucie as we start our coverage of Barbados Decides this morning. From the north, we will go now to the south, to the Hildeskeen Primary School in the constituency of St. Philip North. We're hoping to hear from Wendy Burke in just a little while. Of course, we'll have more reports throughout the morning, right here on the Morning Report and later on Morning Barbados. We, however, will take a break right here, and we are coming back with more on the Morning Report. Barbados has recorded 2 more COVID-19 related deaths. 2 women aged 59 and 97 succumbed to the COVID-19 on January the 17th at the Harrison Point Isolation Facility. Officials say the 59-year-old was unvaccinated, while the 97-year-old was fully vaccinated. Their death bring the toll from the virus to 271. As the Omicron variant spreads across the globe, the General Secretary of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, is saying solution to defeating the pandemic is getting everyone vaccinated against COVID-19. He says vaccination rates in high-income countries are shamefully 7 times higher than in African countries, and vaccine equity is needed now. Guterres made remarks in his address to the World Economic Forum virtually due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
All countries and all manufacturers must prioritize vaccine supply to COVAX and support the local production of tests, vaccines and treatments around the world. We need pharmaceutical companies to stand in solidarity with developing countries by sharing licenses, know-how and technology so we can all find a way out of this pandemic. And of course, in situations where compensation may be warranted, we don't want to have any pharmaceutical company in financial difficulties or not able to invest. In those situations, developed countries should explore ways to provide the necessary financial support. And we must prepare for the next pandemic through common sense investments in monitoring, early detection and rapid response plans in every country, and by strengthening the authority of the World Health Organization. Throughout, we need to bolster local primary health care and put all countries on the road to achieve universal health coverage.
Jamaica's Ministry of Health will not be upgrading the country's mask requirements for COVID-19 at this time. There have been increasing calls for Jamaicans to wear KN95 or N95 masks amid the spread of the Omicron variant. We do have a report now from TVJ.
If you were to wear a cloth mask, let's say cotton, which has 3 layers, you just have about 26.5% protection.
Clinical Assistant Professor of Medicine in New York, Dr. Keith Cummings, speaking with TVJ News on Friday. Hours later, the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, updated its mask information, urging Americans to wear the most protective mask or respirator that fits well and that they'll wear consistently. The CDC went further to say N95 masks offer the best protection against COVID-19, but should be reserved for healthcare workers. But speaking in Manchester today, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton said he's keeping the mask message simple.
A mask of some kind is better than no mask at all.
But the surgical mask, for instance, which is the preferred choice for many Jamaicans, only offers minimal protection from COVID-19, according to the CDC. So why is the Health Ministry not upgrading the mask requirement in Jamaica?
You run a risk in taking that position of just complicating the messaging and creating more challenges for people who may end up not wearing any mask at all. And I wouldn't want to get into that. And I agree that there are masks that are better able to protect you than others. The N95, for example, is what the clinicians use, and it has to be fitted, and it's a more complicated process in terms of determining how it is worn and size and all of that. I don't know if it's practical to expect that the country is going to engage in that level of fitting and training and orientation to get sort of absolute protection.
Mass vaccination of children in Brazil is finally underway.
After a month of political wrangling, mass vaccination of children is finally underway in Brazil. Leonardo Oliveira told us he's relieved his 5-year-old asthmatic son has just been inoculated against COVID-19.
The vaccination campaign could have started before. The delay in Brazil was a result of the government's denial of the pandemic and the lack of leadership.
Health officials expect that most of the 20 million children between the ages of 5 and 11 will show up to get their shots, despite President Jair Bolsonaro's repeated attempts to discredit the vaccine's efficacy and safety. He has announced that his 11-year-old daughter will not be inoculated.
Are you going to vaccinate your child against something which someone young can catch and have an almost zero chance of dying?
Some 300 children have died in Brazil since the pandemic began. Brazil's health regulatory agency, Anvisa, approved the vaccine for children in December, but the president publicly questioned the decision, suggesting there was something shady about it.
What's behind this? What are the interests behind it? What are the interests of vaccine maniacs?
His remarks were contested by Anvisa's president, Antonio Barra Torres, who, like many of Bolsonaro's advisors, is also a military officer. He asked the president to show proof of wrongdoing or to apologize for making unfounded accusations. Political analysts say Bolsonaro is trying to maintain the support of his hardcore followers, as polls show he will probably lose his bid for re-election in October.
He has lost military support on that situation, there were other developments that show that he has no support from the military on his position about the vaccination. Why? Because the military themselves have said that have determined that no soldier or officer should go to work without proof of vaccination.
Meanwhile, the delay in vaccinating Brazilians, both adults and children, has had serious effects.
We lost time and could have avoided many hospitalizations and deaths. Luckily, Brazil is a country where people trust vaccines and show up when there's a national inoculation campaign.
Roberta Schiaffino says her family never had any doubts. Her 14-year-old son has already had 2 shots and her 8-year-old daughter will be vaccinated next week.
Politics in Brazil is very polarized, and the vaccine ended up being a part of this political war where people are more interested in proving who's right and who's wrong, instead of treating this as what it is, a public health issue and a right to life.
A recent poll says 8 out of 10 Brazilians are in favor of the COVID-19 vaccine, despite their political preferences and fake news.
This is the CBC Morning Report. We'll take a break here and we're back with more after the break. This is the CBC Morning Report. Today, the 19th of January, Election Day, when Barbados decides. We have our reporters out and about across the respective constituencies. We head now to the Hilda Primary School in St. Philip, where we find Wendy Burke. Wendy, can you bring us up to date on what's been happening there?
Well, good morning to you, Pearson, and good morning to our viewers. As we said, we are here at the Hilda Primary School, which is going to be the main counting station tonight for St. Philip North. With me, I have Mr. Henson Allen, the returning officer, who will tell us how the polls have been going since they opened. Good morning to you, Mr. Allen. How have things been?
Good morning, Wendy. Well, so far, from what I've seen, it is going to be a very hectic day. Right now, there's about, the line is stretched about 150 meters around here, the school at Hilda Scheme. I have also visited some other schools in the area, some other polling stations, and the lines are getting very reasonably long, as usual.
What about the protocols and the social distancing? I'm noticing them myself, and they are standing apart. But have you been having any issues once they come into the area to vote?
No, we have not had any issues because the people were well trained to do the social distancing, the temperature checks, and the cleaning of the booths after each person has voted. It has been very orderly. The people know what they're doing, and everything should go according to plans during the day.
Given that you said you have already been seeing a swell at the various boxes, do you anticipate a late start for the evening? How are things, do you think, are shaping up, given that you've been the returning officer here for quite some time?
I think that things are shaping up rather well. I don't think that we are going to go over 6 o'clock by too much. There are always late voters, people who go to work, and then they leave work about 4 o'clock and then they come up.
The actual line that is snaking, coming around the school, going some ways down the street. It's not quite yet at the end of the junction, but it is to the forecross, and people are turning out. We've been seeing individuals coming by car. They're being shuttled in, the older folks, you know, the younger folks. A lot of first-time voters have also turned out with parents in tow, because some of them not so familiar with the process, you know, not to be given assistance on who to vote for, but just what they need to do once they get here. There are complaints about an ID card being a bit damaged, etc. But all in all, folks are turning up, they're orderly, and they're ready to be part of that voting process, Pearson.
Wendy, thank you. We'll be checking back in with you a little later on in the morning as Barbados today decides. 2022, Wendy Burke reporting there from the Hilda Primary. A Dodds inmate who escaped custody while on his way to physiotherapy treatment at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital yesterday has been recaptured. Police Public Relations Officer Acting Inspector Rodney Innes says 37-year-old Roger Rommel Seeley, alias Duckfoot, was on remand facing a charge of aggravated burglary. Seeley was in the custody of a prison officer at the hospital when he ran off, jumped the western fence and escaped. He was recaptured in Clapham late in the evening. The Tonga government says the Pacific island nation is facing an unprecedented disaster after a massive volcano eruption triggered a tsunami and blanketed parts of the country of 100,000 people in thick volcanic ash. We have an update now on the situation there.
Satellite images show a thick layer of ash on the runway of Tonga's main airport. On the left is how it looked before the eruption. The ash is delaying deliveries of international aid flights.
The ash is proving quite problematic, not just for water and sanitation, because Tonga collects its water from the roofs of households, but in terms of access for the aid from Australia and New Zealand and other flights, they need to clear the runway.
Communicating with Tonga is extremely difficult. There's no internet and limited phone calls because the tsunami severed the fibre optic cable connecting the rest of the world. The telecoms operator says it will be weeks before the connection is restored. Prime Minister Sayosi Sovaleni has released his first official statement, confirming what many feared. The eruption has caused an unprecedented disaster, with the volcanic mushroom plume covering all of Tonga's 170 islands. The Red Cross estimates that up to 80,000 Tongans may be affected, and dust from the volcano could contaminate water supplies, with islanders advised to drink bottled water and wear masks.
But also what that volcanic ash carries is, the gas parts that have kind of stuck to it now. And so when that volcanic ash kind of goes into water resources, so example, if it starts to rain and then that mixes with the water in the atmosphere, the sulfur that's kind of adhered or stuck to the volcanic ash bits can then make acid rain.
This is how Tonga's port looked at the end of December. In the latest satellite pictures, the area is smothered in grey ash. Dozens of homes on the main island of Tonga Tapu have been severely damaged or destroyed. What Tonga desperately needs now is help from other countries. The volcano has stopped spewing ash for now, giving a team of 200 volunteers a chance to sweep the runway, with most now cleared. It's hoped the first aid flights will be able to land as soon as Thursday.
Telecommunication giants AT&T and Verizon will delay launching new wireless service near some airports in the United States after the nation's largest airlines said the service would interfere with aircraft technology and cause massive flight disruptions. The telecoms companies were to roll out a new 5G service today.
The move might have come just that bit too late, as the international airlines, including the Emirates, are already cancelling some flights to the country. Airline chief executives say they are concerned that 5G wireless signals will interfere with the navigation systems of aircraft. The White House says it's actively engaged with all parties involved to maximise deployment while protecting air safety. Well, John Henry joins us live now from Chicago's O'Hare Airport. And how much concern is there that there is going to be a great deal of disruption from this, despite the fact that telecoms companies are delaying the 5G rollout?
Well, there was a lot more concern just hours ago. We're transmitting to you right now using a fourth-generation wireless technology. That's how this picture is getting to you. Apparently, the switchover, which was to happen on Wednesday, to fifth-generation technology was a dramatic difference. The wireless companies bought up. They spent tens of billions of dollars to buy up more radio frequencies. Well, what the airlines say is that the planes use an altimeter that bounces radio waves off of the ground in order to determine what height the plane is at. And they especially need that in low visibility settings, which often happen in places like this in winter. And they say that could have disrupted air travel. They would have had to ground thousands of planes, leaving millions of people unable to travel. It would have grounded cargo. It would have stopped the supply chain. They said it would have also stopped vaccines from getting around. They said it could have caused economic chaos, and they dramatically told the Biden administration that they needed help. They needed to either postpone the onset of this new cellular technology, or they needed bubbles around the airports that were affected. And ultimately, that is what those two telecom companies did. They said, Verizon and AT&T said, we will not deploy our systems around the affected airports, meaning the airports near 5G systems across the U.S., but they were upset about it, and they expressed their frustration as they issued a statement saying they would voluntarily, temporarily postpone. And I'll tell you, the airlines were very upset about this happening. They warned of economic catastrophe, and apparently the concern was great enough that it got to President Biden. The White House today said it was working on this. Biden issued a statement thanking both Verizon and AT&T. So the big pending clash between big tech and big airlines has been postponed, but it hasn't been averted, because ultimately they have to come to some sort of agreement as to whether that technology will be deployed around airports. And as the telecom companies point out, this technology has been deployed in 40 countries before it reached here. So they think it's safe. There will have to be a resolution, and that will probably involve the Biden administration through the Federal Aviation Administration on one hand, which regulates planes, and the Federal Communications Commission, which regulates the airwaves.
In sports, West Indies head coach Phil Simmons says players have been guilty of poor match awareness. He was speaking to the media yesterday ahead of the planned 5-match T20 series against England, which starts on Saturday at Kensington Oval. The Windies are coming off a disappointing 2-1 ODI defeat to Ireland in Jamaica and are now 6th in the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup Super League.
I think it's bad shot selection, and that comes down from assessing the situation of the game. You know, if we, so you need guys to bat for a while and just play, and then guys still getting out with big shots. When you need guys to bat for a while, they're getting caught on the boundary. When you need guys to bat for a while, they're getting caught by playing big shots. So I think is assessing the situation of the game is a huge part of the batting failure. Each game has a situation. Every ball is a situation in the game. And we've got to be able to assess that situation and know exactly how we have to play in that game. You watch all wrong, you see different. If you're 20 for 3, you play differently to if you're 40 for none at the end of 6 overs. So these are the little situations that we need to highlight and need to assess properly and win them. And that will take us to winning the game.
Thanks, Coach.
Well, Simmons also defended his stewardship as head coach so far.
If I start worrying about my job, then I have problems. I am worrying about the success of the team. I'm worrying about how we get players to play their roles and in playing their roles, get the team to be successful. And that's all I'm concerned about. You're always under pressure as a coach or coaches when the team's not doing well in any sport you play. And when the team's doing well, the coaches are forgotten, but that's the nature of the job. So, my worry right now is that we get players to understand their roles and the roles in the middle, as I was saying before, because everybody seems to understand their roles outside, but while you're in the middle.
Well, that's it for sports. Let's take a look at forecast conditions for today, Election Day in Barbados, when Barbados decides. Recorded at the Met Office at 6 this morning, Barbados 24.4 degrees Celsius, fair conditions around, and the winds are nice and cool coming from the east at 22 kilometers an hour. Heading to the beach today, if you get some time, there's a low tide at 26 minutes after 10 this morning, another low tide at 21 minutes after 11 tonight, and we have a high tide which is scheduled to roll in around 21 minutes to 5 this afternoon. Seas today are predicted to be moderate in open water with swells ranging from 1.5 to 2 meters, but with the possibility of increasing. In the forecast today, as you head out, expect a mix of sunshine and clouds with scattered light to moderate showers. Caution, take your umbrellas along with you. And for tonight, there should be a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few brief, isolated light showers. Here are some weather forecasts for international cities. And that's it for today's CBC Morning Report. Remember to join us at 12 noon on TV8 for the CBC News Day and on radio for all throughout the day for coverage of Barbados Decides. I'm Pearson Bowen. Morning Barbados starts now.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, January the 19th, 2022. I'm Pearson Boeing, welcoming all of you here in Barbados and anywhere else across the world who are watching us on our YouTube stream and on our Facebook stream as well. Thank you all for coming by every single day to be with us. And yeah, it's the day after. It is indeed the day after. I want to say a huge thank you to all of you who have generously said hello and happy birthday to me yesterday. But I also want to particularly identify a couple of things that I thought were really significant for me yesterday, if you don't mind me sharing. One, a call from my godsons, Christopher and Michael. Delightful to the ear, delightful to the heart, as always. Those boys bring such joy to me. And then later on in the afternoon, there was Movell. Yes, the queen of Culpeper. She came by and Movell delivered a few goodies for us. So Movell, a big thank you. This is a huge one, Movell. This is a big one, girl. But now the lighting, I know. But you can see for yourself, it's a cake, which we will share together as a team. But a big thank you, Movell, for the cake and the beverages and every good thing else as well. What a celebration it was indeed. Now today, January the 19th, is also polling day in Barbados. That's the day when Barbados decides, and right across our network of stations, we will be bringing you continued coverage throughout the day, culminating with our massive coverage this evening as Barbados decides 2022. We encourage you to stay with us, to stay on each of our platforms, whether it is on air or on our social, and you will be kept up to date with the very, very latest indeed. So throughout the morning today, we'll be touching a number of constituencies to get updates on what they expect to be a low turnout. Is it going to be so? And what is that turnout portending for a little later on this evening? So our reporters are out and about at some select constituencies as they track what's been happening in the polls as well. Today too, we'll be talking a little bit as we prepare for Arrow Day about the new focus for yachting and cruising on the island. And we'll talk with the officials of the Barbados Cruise Club about that. We'll also today in our book, yes, Managers First Aid Kit, looking at managing your boss. Can you dare do that? Well, there are ways to do so. And Joan Underwood will join us a little later on to talk a little bit more about that particular subject of managing your boss. So a whole host of things to expect with us today on Morning Barbados. So let's get started with the young. That's right. Two familiar faces to you and to us as well, as they continue to talk and to share on air as well. Hewley Watson and Naeem Johnson with the Listen Up Accord. Join me now. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Hey, good morning to you, Pierce.
Good morning. Thank you for
morning,
it is morning here. You can't walk in here with that kind of energy. Sun has risen, and today is a day in Barbados where each of us has to get up and do what we have to do. So, listen up. There's going to be a very special presentation of your Listen Up Accord program this Saturday. Let's start with you, Hewley. Tell us what we can expect Saturday when we watch Listen Up Accord.
Well, as we said, it's a very special Listen Up Accord episode for the next 2 Saturdays, where we're going to be looking at COVID-19 and education, basically navigate how we navigate the online environment. We realize that it's very important to really discuss how it has been affecting both parents, teachers, the IT coordinators, and also students alike. As we know that this pandemic has really brought out the resilience of our nation at large. It also has allowed us to, dabble in some new stuff, especially when it comes to the technology aspect, where we have the Google Classrooms, where we have teaching online more so than face-to-face. So we see different skills being coming out, and at the end of the day, it has also provided a lot of challenges as well. So even in that conversation that we will have on Saturday, especially with parents, teachers, and the IT coordinator, we're looking to really dive into really and truly what has been the feel on the ground in terms of persons, in terms of how they have been coping, how they have been handling work, and their children being online. And even in terms of my family tree, I can tell you personally, it has been an experience for some persons. They're always asking the question as when this online environment will be done, so they can be free up. But they're at the end of the day, they're still enduring to the end. So kudos to them, and even in this new environment at large.
So Naeem, who do you want to hear from? Because when I hear Hewley speak, it sounds as if you're talking to the big people. What about the younger people as well? Would they have an opportunity on Saturday to express how they feel about the approach to education that we've been adopting for the last couple of years?
Great that you mentioned that. So what is happening is that, yes, on Saturday, we're hearing from the older folks to see their perspective on how the online navigation, through online learning has been through COVID times.
What's happening the following Saturday, God willing, we are looking to have a section for the kids or for the younger ones to get their perspective to see how online learning have affected them, the challenges, the good in it, you know. So it's going to be separated because we know it's going to be a packed episode. So you want to give each group time so they can fully express themselves.
Hughley, you
But
know,
yeah,
sometimes, thank you, you know how cynical the society can be. We're saying we could talk, and we're good at talking. But what happens after the talk? What are you hoping to achieve, having done the 2 programs on this subject, to be able to do with the information you hear?
Well, Pearson, that's a really good question to ask. The objectives of our Listen Accord project really and truly is to take the information that we would receive and action it. Because we recognize at the end of the day that a lot of talking has been going on. However, then we want to really action a lot of the things that are being said so that what is said, you can see it being rectified, you can see there being solutions being added. Now, the thing about the Listener Accord program, since it engages the online platforms a lot, one of the things that we do first of all is that we are encouraging persons to comment, to give suggestions, to give feedback within the show itself, because at the end of the day, it's not just about the talking, it's about you, the individual Barbados, to come out and just to really support us in the online platform and to share your opinions, your thoughts, what you think can be done at the end of the day. So largely what we're going to do at the end of these 2 episodes is really compile the information, and at the end of the day, the entire project objective is to really action 1 or 2 projects from the entire conversation that we had. Because Pearson, as you will recognize that because it is multiple episodes, we're touching base on a lot of pertinent issues affecting the youth of this country. So yes, they will have the opportunity to give their input, and at the end of the day, we're hoping that we can see projects being executed from these same episodes.
Indeed. So, Naeem, can you give us a sense of who will be on the panel so we can get our heads ready to quiz them and to share as well on Saturday and the following Saturday?
Yes, great that you mentioned that. So on Saturday, they're going to have some teachers as well as some parents, as well as an IT coordinator. This will give you a general idea of how the online navigation works. So during the session, teachers will be speaking on their behalf and the challenges that they may be faced. The online person is going to be speaking on behalf of the issues that that can affect during like different devices, whether it's tablets. Some parents use their phones for their children. And then also the parents for them to express, how the challenges that they will face, managing more than one child, whether it's competing with work as well as managing a child. So it's going to be a part episode, a lot of questions and a lot of deep discussion.
Now, you know, gentlemen, Barbadians feel very sensitive about this. And so I expect that, therefore, people are going to sink their teeth into the subject and get online to talk and offer some suggestions. So get ready to start writing and compiling because it's going to be quite interesting. So it's starting this Saturday at 5 right here on TV8 and all the social media platforms as well. You can watch Listen Up Accord. You can engage with Listen Up Accord. You can share your points of view as well, because every idea goes towards the greater good of the nation. And then on the following Saturday, it's going to be a follow-up where each of us really truly gets a chance to help to shape the course of education going forward. So Hughley Watson and Naeem Johnson of the Listen Up Accord Committee, thank you both, gentlemen, for the great work you're doing. Continue doing it. I see your energy still, and I know that you have a passion for effecting the change in our young people that you'd like to see. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, and a happy belated birthday to you as well, Pierce.
Cheese on bread, cheese on bread. Thank you, man. Have a good day, okay? Thank you, boys. Thank you so much. Good guys, indeed. Mornin Barbados continues right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
18 minutes now to 7 o'clock this day. Indeed, Barbados decides elections, and so all across the island, polling stations are open. People are out preparing to exercise their franchise, and so we're checking in with our reporters who are placed across the island. We're going to go live now to Christchurch East, the constituency of Christchurch East, where our Crystal Hoyt is reporting. Crystal, good morning to you.
Good morning, person, and good morning, readers. I am here at Nazarene Church in Pilgrim Road, one of the polling stations in Christchurch East. And what I can tell you is that a number of Barbadians have come out early, from as early as 5:15 before heading off to work. Now, returning officer Patrick Thompson declared the station open promptly at 6, and the COVID-19 protocols are in effect. I'll give you a bit of background on this constituency. It's highly contested with a total of 5 candidates vying for the seat.
Hey, I'm good. How are you? All right.
Barbados Labour Party candidate Wilfred Abrams. He'll be going up against Democratic Labour Party's candidate Dennis Snow once again. And there are 3 newcomers. We have Victor Knight of the Alliance Party for Progress, Pauline Corbett of Solutions Barbados, and well-known Circle Brian Tonga is running as an independent candidate. So lots to watch here in Christchurch East, and that's it from Pearson. Back to you.
You know, Crystal, that's going to be a hotly contested constituency there, where we have a return by what some would call to be a legacy politician up against a first time in Parliament, and then a young man who is making himself available to offer his services as well. But I can see in the line that we see elderly people who are already coming through. Can you give us a sense of what you average to be the age ranges that you see already in line to cast their ballot?
I didn't catch you fully, but I'm really that you're asking here so far, and really and truly at least 50% are here. Because of the COVID-19 protocols, it is taking a little bit longer than usual, but they say that they're willing to wait.
Indeed. All right. Thank you so much, Crystal Hoyt. We'll be hearing from you again throughout the day as we track Barbados Decides 2022 right here on the stations of the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation. It's 15 minutes now to go to the hour of 7 o'clock. And so let's turn our attention now to an upcoming activity, which traditionally we'll have on Errol Barrow Day. Why? Because himself, the right excellent Errol Barrow, national hero, loved cruising. And so we're going to head over now to the Barbados Cruise Club, where Sailing Week is about to begin. And so we're happy to be joined this morning by Chris Worm, who is the Sailing Committee member, along with Peter Griffith, Commodore of the Barbados Cruising Club. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining. Traditionally, this is what happens on Errol Barrow Day. You know, we have the big regatta on the Barbados Cruise Club posts. And so this year, you're starting something different. What is it that we can expect different this year, and why?
Well, this year is the first year coming up after COVID. We were closed last year, and the yachting community is thirsty for competition. The response has been magnificent. We did not expect such a good response. We thought that the COVID being still around would be a problem, but it really isn't. The competition coming in from abroad is up to par. We have 7 vessels coming from overseas. We have a lot of visitors to the island, and the interest sailors coming in and looking for space on board boats and so forth is very good. I think that overall we will have a very good competition. This year, the difference really is the kite sailing. We have 20 participants who will be competing in the Oystins area, where the wind is quite good. And we also have, this is a good number, I must say, and the response there again is great. We also have the remote sailing vessels, and we are not forgetting the kids, because the future of of cruising and sailing in Barbados is really vested in our children. And the dinghy racing brings the children in. So it's quite extensive. Everything is spread out really nicely in areas that we don't have any issues with protocols, and therefore we are looking forward to good competition.
Chris, there's usually a lot of interest in this event, and many people are on our shorelines watching to see the spectacle of what it is. Is that also going to be a part of the feature? As I know, yes, we're going to exercise the protocols, but what does it mean really for all of us really to be there supporting this sailing activity?
Well, this year it won't be quite as big as it normally is, but we'll be going around the island on the 21st as normal, and there'll be many viewing points. We'll start in Carlisle Bay, and this year we're heading up north, so we're going around in a clockwise direction. We'll be up the west coast first. North Point is always the boats, and then it'll come down the east coast. That's another good viewing point, and up by Ragged Point, and then around the south coast. We do have a lot of interest in people that want to follow it, drive around and see it, which is a great thing. And with our sponsors, Mount Gay and Digicel and BTMI, it looks like it's going to be a good day out. The wind looks pretty good. We have a small swell, and it should be good viewing for everyone.
I see that you have a US champion in the midst as well. So can you give us a sense of who are the competitors and where they're from?
We have a lot of English people, a lot of European people. They spend a lot of time here in the Caribbean, mainly up in Antigua and so on, and they've come down to join us. They're mainly our clientele, and a lot of people that have come here over the years and supported this regatta. So we're glad to have them back again.
Peter, give us a sense of how many Barbadians will be involved in this. It's going to be called Around Barbados Sailing Week. It's inaugural. And give us a sense of who will be in that Barbados contingent so that we can hail our own brothers and sisters who are out there on the high seas.
Right, yeah, we have about, I would say about 10, 15 Barbadian boats going around. The registration is still ongoing today, so we should get some more. I mean, we have some guys like Bill Trampro, who's been around many, many times, one of our veteran sailors here. We have some guys interested in going around in the J24, stuff like that, Charlie Glumo and so on. So we should get quite a good turnout.
Peter, give me a sense of, because you say you're going to be but you will have kite sailing, remote sailing, a whole host of elements. So you're giving opportunity for the whole activity to grow over the years to come. Where will those, you said kite sailing will be in the Oysons area. Where is the remote sailing?
That would be at Golden Pond.
Where is Golden Pond, if you don't mind me asking?
Sorry, Chris, elaborate a bit on that there, please.
That was up by Golden Grove. It's like a big pond up there, basically.
Right. It's a week that runs from the 18th until the 23rd. So is it going to be every day a different form of activity, or how is it going to roll out the whole week?
Well, we have the registrations begins today, more or less. The opening is this evening. Official opening is at 6 o'clock. And then on Thursday, registration continues. We are meeting and greeting our competitors, local as well as overseas. On Friday, the big race is the Bromley Island race, which is traditionally on Arabar's Day, our co-founder. Then we have the coastal races on Saturday and Sunday. All other competition is on Saturday and Sunday. Kite sailing Saturday and Sunday, and the remote racing and dinghy racing will be on Saturday and Sunday. But the big day is really the Round the Island race, and that competition will be for its set aside for itself on that day.
And that's on Arrowbarrow Day, January the 21st. So it's going to be a good day, a good opportunity for the entire family from all ages, really and truly, to take up your vantage points, to really watch the spectacle, and hopefully that the sport inspires you enough to yourself want to get involved, because who knows, you might very well be the next big sailing champion. And we have, as we've heard, a number of people coming in from across the region and across the world who's going to be a part of the Round Barbados Sailing Week, with lots of vessels. I mean, some very high-powered vessels, some very interesting vessels as well. Look at that. You can see the spectacle that will be around Barbados as those boats sail. There's going to be the kite sailing in Oistins area, a very scenic area. So for those of you, take up your best vantage point. The wind, as we heard, is very strong in that area, very suitable to kite sailing. So we encourage as many of you as possible to support it with your eyes and your presence. And then the remote sailing, which is going to be at Golden Pond in St. Philip, I think it is, and you are St. John. Anyway, you know where it is, folks. And you get out and you support the big Round Barbados Sailing Week, which used to be the Mount Gay Round Barbados Series. It's now the Round Barbados Sailing Week. Joining us to talk a little bit about that has been Chris Worm and Peter Griffith with the Barbados Cruise Club. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I hope Barbadians really step out and step up to support. And I wish you only the very best with this. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Bruce.
You're very welcome indeed. So, folks, we want to encourage you to lend your support to the activity as well. So we have 6 minutes now to go to the hour of 7 o'clock. Remember, we have news coming up at 7, and we'll be sharing that with you. But today, Barbados decides across the 30 constituencies. We've had quite a number of weeks of campaigning, constant campaigning. So by now, people have their minds already made up, and now it's your turn to exercise your franchise. We're heading to the polls today. Do so safely. You know exactly what to do, because we've been living in these protocol environments for a little while now. So we encourage you to get up, get out, and to do what you know you have and should do. So in doing so, please be mindful that the forecast today is predicting a little bit of possibility of rain. So for those of you who are going to be heading out today, please make sure you walk with your protective gear as you get ready to head out and to vote in the constituencies nearest to you and which you're assigned. Let's check in again with one of our reporters, Trevor Thorpe, who is at St. John Primary School again, one of those interesting constituencies. Trevor, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, Pearson. It's not, the sun is coming up. They're coming from behind the clouds. It looks pretty good here in St. John. We are just outside the front door of the St. John Primary School. The candidates here are Charles Griffith of the ruling Barbados Labour Party, Andre Worrell of the Democratic Labour Party, and Philippe Amy of the Alliance Party for Progress. So far, it's quiet here. This is polling station A to I and I to Z. The returning officer here is Richard Harris. The protocol business is in place. We've got Damani Small. He's also an election officer, but he's part of the COVID team, making sure that the protocols are followed and all things are ship-shape and biscuit fashion, as they told me here in the country, for them. Just saw the Barbados Labour Party's candidate, Charles Griffith, coming through, and a quick word with him. He said that he was just making sure that all is well. His election agents will be doing the running around at all the polling stations in St. John, ensuring and to make sure that all is well for their side, and make sure that all is well in general. But all in all, things are slow here. Nothing hasn't picked up as yet. A few people are straggling in, but the elections officer told me that as the day gets older, he expects to see the numbers picking up. But it's quiet this morning out here at the St. John Primary School here in St. John. Trevor Thorpe, back to the studio.
You know, Trevor, if you don't mind, St. John is one of those constituencies which will be closely watched, simply because for the very first time perhaps in a while it was taken over by the Barbados Labour Party, being itself a DLP stronghold. What else can you tell us about that constituency that people need to watch? Because it's probably going to be one of those outliers that determine the election.
Well, the words that I've been hearing on the ground, having covered some of the campaigns and meetings during the run-up to today, was that the incumbent should be able to make it again. But there's also a lot of energy behind Mr. Worrell and his camp, and things are supposedly going good for him. It was still early days for him when he first chatted with him. But then as the days went by, he was saying he's been comfortable and things are stepping up where he is concerned, and he's expecting a good show. And he says that he's looking to bring home the bacon.
What sense do you get of the influence in the outcome by the third party?
The third party, I'm being brutally honest, I don't think the third party can bother the two main parties very much. All the talk that I've been hearing and have been exposed to during the campaign was of the candidate of the DLP and the candidate for the DLP. Very few persons has ever said or mentioned a third person, so he may just be there to spoil the sport.
Well, early days still, early hours indeed, and certainly we'd want to be able to hear the outcome by tonight. But Trevor, we'll be checking in again with you a little later on. Thank you so much for joining us from St. John.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor Thorpe there reporting from St. John as we continue to track this elections today. Barbados decides. Our reporters are out and about. And of course, once we stay with the stations of the CBC, constant update throughout the island as we get ready for Barbados decides this evening, live right here on the stations of the CBC. All of our radio stations, each of them, and TV8 will bring you expert analysis and up-to-the-date results as they unfold. We're going to take a break right here. We're coming back with more on Morning Barbados right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
7 o'clock in Barbados in the Eastern Caribbean. Time to bring you up to date in the news. The High Court has dismissed the application seeking an injunction to postpone today's general election. Madam Justice Cicely Chase handed down that decision late yesterday evening after several hours of deliberation. She said the proper forum to hear that case would be the election court and not the High Court. She said with no jurisdiction to determine the matter, the High Court cannot therefore determine the claimant's application for injunction relief and therefore could not make any order. That decision effectively paves the way for today's election as Barbados decides, and so we have been tracking what's been happening across the island. We have reporters streamed all over the place, and we want to go now to St. Lucie to get an update from Sharika Griffith, who is tracking that constituency of St. Philip. Sharika is one of our reporters there. You know, St. Lucie is one of those constituencies where we'll be keeping a very keen eye on. Sharika joins us now. Sharika, what can you tell us?
That's right, Pearson. Good morning to you once again. Well, since we last spoke, the sun has come up now, so things are a bit brighter here. We continue to see a steady stream of people coming in. Because of the COVID-19 protocols, you asked about the protocols before, so I'm actually seeing someone coming in now. I'm going to switch the view so that you can see just how things are going here. As people approach, you get your sanitizer and your temperature is checked. So we are seeing strict observance of the COVID-19 protocols. As I mentioned before, we are also seeing people social distancing. And because of the protocols, we're only seeing one person being let into the polling station at a time. That is contributing to a bit of a line. It's not too many people because things are still going pretty smoothly here. You're probably seeing people arriving, every 5 minutes or so. So everyone is just standing patiently waiting to cast their vote. No issues here, pretty quiet, and things appear to be going pretty smoothly. So that's it for the time being. As I would have mentioned before, we have 3 candidates vying for the seat. From the Democratic Labour Party, we have President Bertha Pisa, the BLP, Barbados Labour Party, incumbent Peter Phillips, and from the Alliance Party for Progress, Wayne Griffith. So continue to see pretty smooth voting here at the St. Lucie Primary School. For the most part, what we've been seeing in terms of the demographic of voters coming out, we have older population, and many of them have said to me that they're accustomed coming out to vote. They prefer to come between 6 and 7:30. And then we're also seeing people in their work uniforms. So these are people who are coming out to vote before they head off to work. So Pearson, that's it for me from St. Lucie Primary School for the time being.
Sharika, at some point I'd like to get a comparison. How does it compare now with previous elections so we can get a sense of whether there is a fall off in turnout or not? So thank you so much for now, but of course when we chat back in with you a little later on, if you can get some information on that so we can have a sense of whether the turnout is lower or perhaps consistent. Thank
Absolutely.
you, Sharika. Sharika Griffith there reporting from the St. Lucie Primary School, the polling station for the St. Lucie constituency. Other reporters are out and about, and so we want to go now to our own Shane Seeley. Shane, good morning to you. Can you tell us where you are and give us some sense of the constituency you're tracking? So we're going to try to get that volume coming in from Shane. Shane, good morning again to you.
Yes, I can. And I'm hoping that you can hear me well after city. That's one of the several polling stations. We got 4. It's a seat where you have a lot of new people coming in. Of course, the incumbent is not here this time around. He opted to bow out of political life. That would be the former health lieutenant Jeffrey Bostic. But this time around, we have for the BLP. We also have for the BLP. For the APP, we have Marva Lashley Todd, and then as well for Solutions Barbados, we have Fallon Best. So far, right now, things are very light. A number of people are coming in. You have a few people congregating outside of this polling station here at Westbury Primary School. But as Sharika would have said in her report, COVID protocols are in place. I did see a member of the COVID-19 monitoring unit making sure that people are doing just that, social distancing, and following those COVID-19 protocols. And if you can see, let me try to swing around the camera so that you can see a bit better this situation here at Westbury Primary School. As you can see, people are definitely observing that social distancing. As they go into the hall, they're getting their hand sanitizer and casting their vote. So things also very quiet. As Sharika would have mentioned, these are the early birds who would cast their vote and then head out to work. Things are expected to get a bit busier later on in the day. Of course, the city is a very heavily populated area. Questions still about voter turnout during this pandemic. Will people come out? The demographic so far looks like that older population who would be more concerned about COVID-19 and really contracting the virus. As you would know, Pearson, some 3,000 people are not going to be able to vote today because they're either in quarantine or in isolation. That's an unfortunate situation. We know about the drama and the court situation that was unfolding around that. but we will continue to monitor the situation in the city. Of course, Corey Lane and Kimar Stewart, Corey Lane of the BLP and Kimar Stewart, that's where the battle is expected to be. And we will watch this seat very closely to see who the city goes to this time around.
Thank you, Shane. Two very young men contesting the City of Bridgetown constituency, and we'll wait for the outcome a little later on when we bring you live coverage of Barbados Decides 2022. Shane Seeley there reporting from the City of Bridgetown. Barbados has recorded 2 more COVID-19 related deaths. The 2 women, ages 59 and 97, succumbed to the virus at the isolation facility at Harrison Point. Officials say the 59-year-old was unvaccinated, while the 97-year-old was fully vaccinated. Those deaths now bring the total to 271. And the Dodds inmate who escaped custody while on his way to physiotherapy treatment at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital yesterday has been recaptured. Police Public Relations Officer Acting Inspector Rodney Innes has said that 37-year-old Roger Seeley, alias Duckfoot, was on remand facing a charge of aggravated burglary. Seeley was in the custody of a prison officer at the time when he ran off, jumped the western fence and sought his escape. He was recaptured in Clapham a little later on in the day. All right, that's it for the news. Now at 7, we will take a break right here. When we come back, we'll share with you our good decision of the day, and you'll get that chance to spot the location right here on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
10 minutes now after 7 o'clock. Let's get our good decision of the day. Perhaps it's a thing you need to consider as you make your mind up. We want to encourage you to create a vision board. Creating a vision board and writing your goals down is a great way to keep you motivated. A vision board is nothing but a representation of your goals that you wish to accomplish in a specific period of time. They are absolutely fun to create and fill you up with enthusiasm. They are one of the most amazing tools to motivate and inspire you to take your daily activities in pursuit of your ultimate and most important targets in life, because with a vision board you move closer to the dream in your mind, so you begin to believe it's possible and put in the work for it. So what's a vision board? That's where you write it down, you set the task and the goal ahead of you, and so day by day you chip it away because it's right there ever before you, and your dreams in your mind will become possible once you put them all to work. So let that be perhaps one of your good decisions today in creating a vision board. It's 11 after the hour now. It's a little bit of fun. You ready for this? Are you ready for this? Time to spot our location. Call me now on 228-5562 or 228-5563. We have somewhere to show you, and you have somewhere to tell me where it is. That's your job. Where is this staircase? It's a staircase. I already begin to imagine what you guys are thinking already. Where on heaven's earth is this? Where is it? 228-5562 or 228-5563. The whole object here is that in identifying where it is or knowing where it is now, you will go visit these places. These are some iconic spots in Barbados. So where is this staircase? 228-5562 or 228-5563. When you call me, of course, we have a little bit of a conversation before we move along. So don't rush me, don't rush it. So where is the staircase? Where is that? Where exactly is that? It is definitely not my house. But where is it? For you, where do you think this is? Call me now. Call me now. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Where is this staircase? I'd like to know exactly where. So don't just give me broadly a parish. Tell me where. Where? Where is it? Good morning. Hello.
Hi, good morning. St. John Parish Church. St. John.
Don't rush the brush. I told you that at the beginning. We're having a conversation, sir.
Oh, sorry.
So, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good to hear that. Are you intending to exercise your franchise today?
I don't know what that means. I just
At least you're honest. Are you going to vote today, in other words?
Course, definitely.
Good man. All right. So, you believe this is where again?
In St. John. And it's
Where?
St. John Parish Church.
And why? What would make you believe that that is that spot?
Because I went to school at Lodge, and we were always up there.
You went to church having gone to school?
Yeah. You had to go.
I'm surprised.
Go Palm Sunday and all that stuff.
Are you still a frequent church goer?
Not all the time, though.
Look at how you've drifted. Look at how you have backslided, in other words.
Very badly.
But, so having gone to school at Lodge, you believe that this is one of the places where you've been?
Yes.
And you believe that this is St. John Parish Church, a staircase in St. John Parish Church. Is it? Are you sure this is it? Because it's so curved.
I am sure that's it.
You have trodden these steps before.
To go up to the balcony, yes.
As a good boy or a bad boy?
Well, Lodge, so in between.
I love it indeed. Listen, I ain't gonna sweat you no more, man. You are absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. That is within the staircase within the St. John Parish Church. I'll tell you, you took me by surprise because I've never seen it. You know, oftentimes we go to church and we just look around and see pews or the altar, but you saw more than that. You saw this staircase.
Yeah, but another thing also, when we were at Renan Mullins Beach Bar, we used to take tours to island tours, and we all used to go there also. So it resonated even more.
Oh, so that's why, because you really get out and about and you've been there so often, indeed. But well done for being so good, because this could have been any other church. But you believe that that's exactly where it is, and you were exactly right. So thank you so much. So what's your first name?
Nicholas.
Nicholas, good to meet you, Nicholas. Have a good day, okay?
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nicholas. Nicholas, good guy. Went to the Lodge School and then popped across to the St. John Parish Church. And even then, while at school, he remembers this staircase. What about you? Can you go see it? Go see it. Go see it. Go see it. The view from St. John's Parish Church yard is spectacular. And go inside the church and look for that particular wall. Thanks to my producer, Nadia Foster, for her great photography. Girl is good. The girl is good. Yeah, indeed. So that's it for today for that one. We'll take a break and we're coming back with even more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Yes, nothing will take us away from focusing on our health, even on today, election day, 17 and a half minutes after 7 o'clock. We're happy to head in now to his surgery. Our gynecologist and obstetrician in Dr. John Barker. Good morning to you, Dr. Barker.
Hi, good morning, Pearson. Happy New Year.
Thank you so much indeed. And now I want to practice my medical terms, all right? So let me practice on you. We're looking today at outpatient hysteroscopy. Pronounce it correctly?
Yes, please.
Good.
100%.
Is it in any way connected to hysterectomy?
No. The hysteroscopy is scopy, so that's looking in. So we're looking into the actual uterus. So essentially what it is the procedure of putting a camera inside the actual womb itself. Now, in terms of outpatient hysteroscopy, outpatient means that you're doing it in a clinical setting rather than in the theater. And as a result, the instruments are much smaller. So the average size for, in terms of gold standard, would be a 1.8 millimeter endoscope, which is then attached to a camera. So it's very small, and it's actually just as thin as your fingernail if you grow your fingernail a bit. So that's the actual size of it. So it's an actual comfortable procedure. And in relation to the indications for doing it, would be either if people have bleeding in between the periods for more than 6 months. Sometimes it can be if you have what we call postmenopausal bleeding, whereby you have, if after the ultrasound scan, you have a thickened lining of the womb, then a hysteroscopy and an endometrial biopsy would then be indicated. Or sometimes if you have ultrasound evidence of growths inside the uterine cavity, like fibroids or polyps, then the hysteroscopy would be indicated.
So if the lady presents with those conditions which you just indicated right there, that's the great, obviously, yes, there's great cause for concern. But in having that concern, it can be treated as an outpatient. You don't have to necessarily be heading to the hospital or any of those other surgical areas for treatment.
Correct. And the advantages is that one, is done in a comfortable setting. Two, the actual cost of it is actually decreased because you're not going in a theater. And in the majority of cases, you don't need an anesthetist to actually put you asleep. As most of the cases, in terms of audits, more than, for myself as well, more than 95% of the patients can be done with simple analgesia, say like paracetamol and ibuprofen. And the worst case scenario would have what we call a cervical block, which is local anesthetic in the neck of the womb. The other 5 to 7% will need sedation, whereby you get the anesthetist involved. And this is actually cheaper in an outpatient setting as well, whereby they give you a sedative so that the procedure could be done.
Oh, well, that's all right. So this is a solution. This is not just an exploration, right?
Yes, sir. Seeing is believing, and tissue is the issue.
I love it. Indeed so. So yeah, it's so true. So very true. The reason I asked that because you talked about using a probing scope and it's almost as if you're searching around. I just want to make sure in searching around that at the end of the procedure of searching, you can remove or fix whatever needs to be fixed.
Right. Well, that depends on the level of service that you're offering. So say like when I was in UK, we offer both a diagnostic service and an operative service at the same time. This would have been, in terms of the way how we do it, we will put the actual scope in the bits down below and then try and find the neck of the womb and actually go through the neck of the womb to actually look inside the cavity, which is the uterine cavity. So if we saw anything abnormal, we can take both either a directed biopsy, which is actually seeing it and taking a tissue sample, and then if it needs to be removed, we actually have instruments, either scissors, sometimes they can twist it off, or sometimes we have like what we call morcellators, which are fine machines which can actually remove it, and anything that we see can be removed at the same time depending on what it is.
Recovery, whilst as a patient and you might have been sedated in some way, having gone through the process and the procedure, do you wake up and you think, all right, that's all fixed, bye-bye, see you tomorrow, and you move along?
Right, with the sedation, usually you would be in the office for about an hour, just resting it off. And we would advocate you to get somebody to take you home or drive you home. And then we will see you within 24 to 48 hours just to make sure that you're fine or give you a phone call. The actual benefit of the outpatient hysteroscopy without the analgesia is that when you actually finish the procedure, within 10 minutes, you can go home, you can drive, etc. So there are advantages in terms of the outpatient setting, both even if you use sedation in the minority of cases, or if you just use the simple analgesia, the advantage is the quicker recovery.
Is there any pain, discomfort that is possible following that procedure, hysteroscopy?
Right. Usually when I counsel patients, you don't know exactly how every patient would respond. All right. So what I usually would tell patients is that depending on how you are, you might not experience any pain at all. Sometimes you might get a little bit of cramping if you're awake, and not more than a period. But some people might find it uncomfortable. So the way how we gauge if you are a candidate for it is when we examine you. So for argument's sake, if we are going to examine you, we pass what you call a speculum. We do a speculum examination. If you can't tolerate the speculum examination, then more than likely 99% of the time, then sedation would be the analgesia of choice for you. But most people tolerate the speculum examination, which would defer that they would find the procedure acceptable. But as I said, you don't know the particular patient until you actually do it. But the majority of outcomes are good in relation to if they have any discomfort, is not as bad as a period.
Is it a treatment that is good for any age of the woman, or is it better for those who are outside of their teen years? Is there any age restriction at all?
No, you can do pediatric patients if you have any issues or any concern with the actual. What we use is something like is a fiber optic scope, so it's very small, 1.8 millimeters. So we actually can just look inside of the womb of people less than 18. In terms of the older generation, over 18 and more, we do it in any person. So there isn't any age restriction in actually doing outpatient hysteroscopy.
Right. But the outcome is that for those who have found themselves with excessive bleeding, what's the word?
Intermenstrual.
Right, that
yes.
word. And you have some concern about that. This is one of the ways to move towards your solution. If you have the possibility of some kind of a polyp or growing, this is all part of that procedure as well. But the great news is it can be done outpatient, and you don't necessarily have to present to one of the other medical facilities. Your GP can actually sit there, work with you, and get this all resolved within an hour. Really, you're heading home, and that's the whole point. And then you manage yourself and your processes thereafter. This is good, and it's done a lot on the island. Is the evidence of this happening a lot on the island?
Well, it's getting more popular now. In terms of overseas, where restraint is mainstay. In terms of my sessions were 2 to 3 times a week. In terms of doing the outpatient procedures, in Barbados is now catching on. But in relation to pushing the standards, it's in relation to doing the diagnostic and the operative procedures in office, so that we can mirror tertiary level institutions overseas.
It just caused me pause, because I'm thinking, my goodness, you see the women walking around and you're not even aware that these are issues that they're dealing with. And it's so good to know that, emotionally, physically, having to deal with all that, they're still strong, but that there are people like yourself, obstetricians and gynecologists, who are able and capable to offer this level of service so that they can bring some relief and comfort to our females. That's so good to hear.
Thank you.
Yep, but thank you too, Dr. Barker, for joining us this morning, looking at that subject of outpatient hysteroscopy. Folks, you know what you need to do if this is part of your challenge as well. It is possible, and it is possible to have it fixed within 10 to 15 minutes, and then an hour later, you're good to go, and just manage thereafter. That's it for that moment. We'll take a break right here. We're coming right back with more on Morning Barbados. That's where we're going right now. It's 7:30. That's exactly where we are right now with our girl Joan Underwood, who is our coach, our talent development specialist, our master trainer, our change specialist, and a great lady and a wonderful friend. Joan Underwood, good morning to you.
Good morning, Pearson. How are you doing?
I am doing great, thank you. Now, we didn't get to share some cake at Christmas here in person, but good to see that you're back. And Joan, I got some cake right here for you, okay? So we'll save a slice just, just for you, all part of our celebrations here on Morning Barbados, indeed. But it's so wonderful.
Listen, before we get into today's topic, if you'd permit me, I have a little story to share.
Sure.
So I came back on Sunday afternoon, and I got to immigration, and when I scanned my passport, the immigration officer said to me, "Joan Underwood, you sound like somebody that wrote a book."
You sound like someone who wrote a book.
Then she says, "And you're on Morning Barbados." And I was like, "Yes, I am." So I said, "Well, do you have a copy of the book?" And she said, "No." And so she does now.
That's so wonderful indeed. See, look at that. You're famous, Joan. This is beautiful indeed. And but the pleasantry I loved indeed. That's so wonderful. You're making such a big difference to so many people by your words in your book, your experience in the book, by your knowledge through the book, by your guidance through the book. And for the book, yes, it's called Manager's First Aid Kit. It's available locally, so get a copy of it indeed. And so today we're looking at that interesting subject, managing your boss. And I can hear some bosses say, "Oh, nobody can manage me." But I'm just hearing also some workers who say, "Me? Manage my boss? Not me." So here we are, hands off, it seems like, from both sides.
Indeed. Now, the thing is, whether relationships require two people to be involved at least, right? So how you show up in the relationship will determine in large part how well the relationship works for you. So if you show up in the relationship thinking, "I'm powerless, I can't manage my boss, so whatever they do, that's what I have to go with." But think about any relationship, even if you're looking at a parent-child relationship, the child has an impact on the quality of the relationship based on how they show up. So it's not about controlling your boss, but it's about the dynamic that's created, because a relationship is like a dance. Each person has steps in the dance. So for the dance pattern to change, either person can change their steps. and then the other person has to adapt, adjust, or else you're going to be stepping on each other's toes all the time.
That's such a beautiful analogy to give, in expressing what that is. You're so right, And sometimes in the dance, one person steps forward, the other one steps back, but you do so in unison. Because if you don't do that under agreement and in unison, someone is going to be trampled. And that's so critical that we understand those dynamics as well. You start in the chapter by saying, when your boss listens to you carefully, reaches out to help you, and learns from you, it enhances your dignity and pride. Again, back to relationship. But it starts with listening. You got to hear. You have to hear. And oftentimes we spend so much time on the verbal, we don't hear all the rest at all.
And even when we're not speaking, it's as if we're just waiting for an opportunity to speak. As opposed to listening to understand. We're just waiting for an opportunity to respond or even react.
And that is not good for any relationship, be it in the workplace or at home, privately as well.
Yes.
It's to be able to listen with the idea that you want to hear and to understand, not just to simply say, oh, well, I just waited till you finished so I could tell you. No, that's not how it works. And so this one about managing your boss, let's bring this to the workplace, because you gave some analogies of real life experiences in the chapter that I found not just amusing, but also quite inspiring, because they were so real and they were yours. So do you mind sharing some so that we get to understand when we talk about managing your boss, what that's about?
Right. So the first story that I shared years ago, I was on the verge of being unemployed because I was just finishing up a fixed term contract. And the managing director called me in and made me an offer, but there was nothing about that offer that I found appealing. This was before I became an HR practitioner. I was a generalist at that time, a project manager. I'd been a general manager. And he wanted me to come on board and set up an HR department for a conglomerate that at the time had only personnel administration, so monitoring sick leave, vacation, doing payroll. I hate routine. So the thought of presiding over that, I mean, I was like, oh, kill me now. But then I decided, okay, let's find out exactly what it is he wants to accomplish, because the fact that he wanted to change that into HR, that was somewhat encouraging. And so he gave me, through the conversation, I was able to identify 3 specific deliverables that would constitute success from his perspective. And based on what he outlined, I knew I could do that. And so I made a counter proposal. Here's where I managed up. Now remember, I'm on the verge of being unemployed, not exactly in a position of power. But I understood that he needed me, or at least someone, who could deliver those 3 objectives.
Right.
Could I be the person? And I said, okay, yes, I can do that for you. Within 3 years, you can have all of that done. What I would need from you in return, though. And so I then crafted a job that wouldn't make me want to slit my wrist. So instead of just doing HR, could I do strategic development?
Yes.
He said, yes. I said, okay. Some tough choices are going to have to be made, including terminating some people because the culture here sucks, bottom line. And we have to send a very visible, very tangible sign that it's not business as usual. Will you back me up? I promise not to abuse it. I'm not going to go crazy on you. But when I come to you and say, listen, this is what we need to do, I need you to trust me and trust the process and go along with it. And the third thing I asked him about was, listen, so I'm going to give you these 3 things in 3 years. After that, I don't want to do HR anymore, but I do want to do strategic development.
Yes.
Would you agree to that? So he knew he was going to get what he wanted. The 3 things I asked him for, they weren't that difficult. So he says, okay, yes. And I said, if I don't deliver, you won't have to fire me. I will leave on my own, right? And so I managed up, I got what I wanted, he got what he wanted, and I ended up staying there for 7.5 years.
Joe, when I read that, I thought, oh my gosh, parallels, again, parallels. I'll share a little bit too, since you shared. when I came here to the CBC, I was in media just a little while before that, and I came here on a 3-year contract, 3 years. 3 years, Joan. I said, I'm not spending another moment thereafter. And, you know, interestingly enough, an offer was then made to consider something else. And I thought, really, I would rather do this other thing. And I had the opportunity then to craft that other thing. And I was given all the support I needed, because that's what I said. And I'm that kind of guy. I would be very direct. I would say to you, you know, I'll do this for you, but I need XYZ. That is Pearson Boyne to a T. You know, so I was very much like you in setting my conditions, and we met all of those conditions. And that's what's been happening. Even in doing this is not my substantive job, but it's something I said I'll happily do, provided X, Y, and Z. And so that quid pro quo occurs, and we are getting the best, I believe, of both worlds. And that's so important when it comes to managing up, that you're, one, respectful as well. You understand what the task is ahead of you. And you can compromise if you have to compromise, but you know, focus on what it is that you're to achieve. You went on to establish mutual expectations. We saw that in your experience as well.
Yes. And mutual is the operative word there, because we all get it intuitively that we have to do what the boss, what the employer wants us to do. But the thing is, we need to communicate as well what it is that we need in order to be at our most productive, in order to be truly engaged. And don't make the mistake of thinking that it's just about money, it's just about hours, right? It's about what it requires for you to operate in a way that is good for you and is good for the organization. So, for example, in that same chapter, I talk about when I worked with Prime Minister Baldwin Spencer in Antigua and Barbuda. I was his chief implementation officer. So he brought me on board specifically to champion certain projects that he wasn't comfortable just leaving to chance. He wanted these things to be part of his legacy. Now, for me to be able to execute, to implement what he wanted, I needed to understand the man. I need to understand how does he process information, because I like to write. So I could be there writing these beautiful flowing reports. But what I found out, PM Spencer, if it was, he couldn't get the gist of what you were saying in one page, he wasn't going to page 2. So I needed within the first paragraph or 2 to catch his attention, to convey to him, this is important, this is something that you need to understand and appreciate. And so by getting to understand how he preferred to receive information, how he processed information, then I became of greater value to him, to the point where, I mean, and the man was crazy busy. He was running a country at the time of the global financial crisis. And Antigua had the compounded effect when Stanford, you know, that empire collapsed as well, and we had people buy clothes. So there was a lot going on. So if I wanted FaceTime with him, I had to be very convincing that, 1, I'm not going to waste your time. 2, I'm going to get in, give, you know, whatever it is I have to say, and be out of there in a matter of minutes. So when I would call over to the secretariat, because my office was across the hall from him, I said, let the PM know I need a few minutes with him. They say, oh, PM busy today, he doesn't have any. I said, just let him know I need a few minutes.
Yes.
And they would call me and say, okay, PM says, come now. So they're like, how come he always see you and he always tell us not to bring in so many other people? I said, because I stick to my word. If I tell him I'm going to be only a few minutes, and he knows I'm not just coming to palaver, I'm coming with something that needs a decision, or to give him a heads up so he doesn't get blindsided.
Yes. And that's so important. So that leads right into living up to your commitments as well. You know, you made a commitment to him, he agrees with your commitment, and you are following through on those kinds of things. And this is the method by which I'll operate. These are the outcomes that we have agreed, and I will deliver. And it's to be able to let your words be true, basically, in other words, to let your words be true. Don't just waft your way through the agreement, as some people would tend to do just for security. It's much more than that. Let your words live for what they truly are meant to be.
Indeed. Because once you lose that personal credibility And it goes back to what we talked about with trust.
Yeah.
And when you breach the trust, how difficult, if not impossible, it can be to, rekindle it.
You go on then to say, it's not about you. And that one is a bold. When you say that, what are you trying to say to me?
Listen, so many of my coaching clients, they come to me and they spend the time lamenting about this horrible boss that they have. And I was like, okay, well, here's the thing. I can sit here and listen to you talk about your horrible boss, but it's not your horrible boss that's paying me, it's you. So you want to spend the time talking about him or her, or you want us to work on things that will help you? Because we don't control other people.
Yes.
And people doubt this, but listen, your boss doesn't wake up every day and say, how can I make this? They have their own stuff going on, right? And that's another reason why it's important for you to take the time to make the investment to get to understand your boss. Because going back to PM Spencer, if he came in and I find, well, PM talked to me kind of rough today, I had to let it go. The man had other things going on, other things that he needed to concern himself. So it doesn't make sense for me to get all caught up in my feelings and think that, oh, he's just being mean to me, he doesn't care about me, what a horrible boss. Get over it, move on, right? And even if in the unlikely event that, yes, you just have a boss who gets up thinking, what can I do to make Pearson miserable today? Why would you give that more energy by dwelling on it?
So true.
So,
And you say,
it's not about you.
yeah,
Move
that's
on.
it. That's exactly where it was going. You said that's what it's about. And you went on to say you are never responsible for the actions of others. You are only responsible for you. When you truly understand this and refuse to take things personally, you can hardly be hurt by the careless comments or actions of others. That is so true, Joan. So very true. So then, how to make difficult people disappear? Whoosh. How do we do that?
If it was so easy, boy, it would be like the rapture. People would just be disappearing.
So how do we do it?
Yes. It's about, again, it's what you can control. It's about your mindset. Okay? Because I have had more than my share of not just difficult, but bad bosses. I mean, people with no moral compass, people who just, their humanity, you wondered, what happened to you as a child? Why would you show up like this? And at first, I used to just stress over it, and I mean, really agonizing, oh God, I have to interact with him today, and so on. It came to the point where, and reading this book, How to Make Difficult People Disappear, was the breakthrough for me. And the only way to make them disappear is to change your mindset, to change your attitude towards them. And it's about expectations. So if you have an expectation that this person is going to be honest, they're going to be kind, they're going to be compassionate, when that's not in their DNA, you're going to get disappointed, you're going to get upset, you're going to get stressed out with every interaction. However, when you realize that your expectations of them may not be part of the way of navigating the world. And I use the metaphor of different breeds of dogs to illustrate the point. So I love the Doberman breed. I used to raise Dobies.
Okay.
And so they have certain traits. First of all, they're just absolutely gorgeous. They're fiercely loyal. They have this strong protective drive, because my dogs used to be trained to do protection work. And then my sister, not being a dog person and not understanding that not all dogs are dogs in the same way, she went and bought me this little toy thing that all it did was just yap, 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 yap. Now, dogies don't bark unless they need to draw your attention to something. There's some sort of danger or, something out of sorts. So there wasn't a lot of barking in my household until this little dog showed up as my birthday gift. I mean, she really thought she was doing something nice.
Yes.
But it would just get on my nerves. And, so I was really not liking this dog at all. And then I decided, you know what? Try and figure out what you can appreciate about this dog. I mean, she was nice and fluffy, so her coat felt nice. Dogies don't have much hair. So, I didn't get that from them. And she loved to cuddle. Now, by the time my doggies reach a certain point, I couldn't put them in my lap anymore. But with this little dog, I could be watching TV. I'd have Adobe under my feet because they would lie at my feet and let me use them as a footrest. And then this little dog would be in my lap and she would be there just to cuddle. And so that was nice. So then I had different expectations of her, and the relationship shifted. So the difficult dog disappeared because I stopped expecting her to be what she wasn't or couldn't
That's right. You change your expectations, you change your outlook, and you can change the boss as well. But thank you so much, Joan. This is such a wonderful chapter, which concludes our section where we looked at managing others. We've done managing self, managing others. Next week, we'll start managing processes and systems. This is going to be interesting. Joan, as always, thank you so much for joining us on a Wednesday morning. Folks, get the book. It's available at Days Bookstore, utdsinc.com, or on Amazon, and you can get it from Joan. She's back. Call her. She's popular now. Call her. Thank you so much, Joan. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
All right, Joan Underwood indeed right here with us. Now let's head back into the field as Barbados decides today. Shane Jones is at the Combermere School. Shane C. Lee, is at the Combermere, so many Shanes, at the Combermere School, you tell me? Shane, where are you? Shane?
You rest your hand. He's talking to Shane.
Shane, I'm with you, but I can't hear you. So let's see if we get Shane's volume coming in. Shane, go ahead again.
Here in St. Michael Central, of course, this is another hotly contested seat. The candidates are out early, Pearson. I can tell you that. Here with me is Arthur Holder. He has told me that things are indeed running smoothly. Mr. Holder, so good to have you here on Morning Barbados with us. Talk about how things are going from your perspective here at Combermere.
Mr. Seeley, I am confident of victory. I would have done the necessary work in my constituency for the past 3 years and 6 months, and I am not bragging or boasting, but I am confident, having done the work on behalf of the good constituents of St. Michael Central, that I will be returned as the duly elected representative for this constituency. I'm surprised, I'm surprised that there's such a steady flow, so people are observing the protocols. So there are no problems as it relates to the in and out in relation to casting the ballot. You can see everything is working as it should be.
So COVID-19 and the pandemic generally not affecting what is the usual voter turnout. You could remember what the situation was like back in 2018.
Yeah, but
you came here early.
It was similar. I think people know the importance of this vote, and I think that's what they're doing. They know that this vote is a vote for the leadership of the future of this country, the leadership of this country, and the governance of this country. And I think as a result of that, persons are coming up to cast their vote for a government that has been good to the people, for the people. I have no doubt that we will be returned as the government when it's all said and done.
Well, 3.5 years, this election is a very critical one during the pandemic. We do wish you all the best as well as to all of the other candidates. Thank you so much, Mr. Holder.
You're most welcome, sir.
And all the best. Of course, another candidate is here as well this morning, Pearson, in Corey Cox for the Democratic Labour Party. Of course, there are two other candidates in the race as well from Solutions Barbados and the opposition leader, Bishop Joseph Atherley of the APP. So I get a few words from Corey now. Corey, morning. Always good to see you, Corey.
Yeah, morning, Shane. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Talk about your feelings right now going into this final day, what is voting day here for the elections 2022?
I mean, for me, honestly, Shane, it is pretty calm. I'm never too high, I'm never too low. I just really take this in stride. And of course, it's a learning experience for me too. This is my first time officially as a candidate in this fight. So, watching the guys come in and voting, just trying to make sure it goes as seamless as possible. Of course, it's a pandemic election, so the lines is taking pretty long to move. Some persons are becoming impatient. We need to get some proper seating for the elderly who maybe can't stand in the line so long, especially in this pandemic.
So, I mean, as you said, it's a pandemic election, a lot has been going on. And of course, there was the situation where some 3,000 odd voters will not be able to cast their ballot because of COVID-19, because they're either in isolation or quarantine. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, to be honest with you, Shane, I think that coming out of this election, we probably need to look at serious electoral reform. It can't just be a discussion, but it needs to be some action behind it, serious policy being put in place as far as implementing measures that can counter these kind of things. Because this is a pandemic election, as I said earlier, but we are still conducting it via traditional means, you know, and that doesn't work. Sincerely, we should have found maybe more polling stations, maybe more polling booths, adequate seating arrangements for the elderly, you know. So like these are things we need to consider. The option for online voting. I mean, this is the 21st century, Shane. Come on.
What do you feel about your chances today?
I've worked hard. I've sincerely worked hard. I am extremely hoarse right now. I have left nothing on the table. This is not a win and loss situation for me. One way or the other, I have won. I've learned a lot, and experience is a great lesson. So coming back the second time, because this won't be the first and last time for me, there's so much more you come out with as a candidate. Of course, I'm hoping to win this season, you know, but I'm perfectly calm, to be honest with you, man.
Wishing you all the best.
Yeah, sincerely, I appreciate it. From one Mornin Barbados colleague to another.
For sure.
Good morning, Barbados.
Corey Cox there, of course, a former host of Mornin Barbados. This time around, he is the DLP candidate for St. Michael's Central. You can see the lines in the background. Things are moving pretty smoothly, but as expected, there will be some delays due to the protocols. Of course, as I came into the common at the gate, you get your hand sanitized, you get your temperature checked, and then you make your way in. Your name is checked on the list, and then you go and cast that ballot. So that's basically the situation at all of these polling stations across the country. Just be patient. When you go, you will get that opportunity to cast your ballot. Of course, as I said, two other candidates in this race here for St. Michael's Central, along with Arthur Holder of the BLP and Corey Cox, as you just heard, for the DLP. You also have the opposition leader, Bishop Joseph Adley, for the APP, and then there's also another candidate for Solutions Barbados, Pearson.
Joan Shay Seeley, gotta get the Sheens right, reporting there from the Commonwealth School. Don't do that to me. It's going to be a long day, my brother. Thank you so very much for reporting in for us indeed. Wendy Burke, I'm getting information coming into my ears. Tell me. All right, so we're going to head to Wendy Burke, who is out and about as well at the Hilda Skiing School. Wendy Burke, good morning again. Report in to us now.
Right now, we are at a trickle. There are only about maybe 15 people left in the line after it was snaking around the building, coming up until around 6 o'clock. But now, as I said, we've been reduced. We only have about 15 people who are online at this point. We've been having lots of elderly and disabled individuals who have been assisted in their polling this morning, and the officers here at Hilda Skiing have been assisting them to ensure that they're the ones who could go out first. Information coming to me, I found out that Dr. Sonia Brown, she has already cast her vote. She would have done that at the St. Philip Primary School at 6. Also casting their votes early at 6 was casting the independent candidate, Mr. Clark, I believe, Omar Smith, and Michael Lashley are yet to do their votes. They said they're going around midday to Bailey's primary. Also having cast their vote this morning would have been Mr. Newton. I believe he might have been somewhere within the St. Catherine area, also going out to poll early. So we have most of the candidates contesting the seat having done their voting. As you can see behind me, there's not that many people left. Everyone is now within the perimeter of the gate. None of the candidates has as yet checked in here at Hilda Skiing to see how things are going. However, we did catch up with them, making rounds in some of the earlier boxes that are usually a lot busier. What we would have seen would have been a number of people on their way to work who wanted to come in and catch that early polling, Pearson. But other than that, it's quiet now over at Hilda Skiing.
For the moment. Thank you so much, Wendy Burke, reporting from Hilda Skiing. She's in St. Philip. Let's stay in St. Philip as we hear now from Shane Jones, who's been heading out and about.
6 a.m. is usually a time reserved for walkers, joggers, and sports enthusiasts. But today they had to share the crisp morning air with hundreds of voters who made their way to the St. Philip North polling station at the Hildeskeen Primary School from as early as 5:30. The parked cars on the side of the road told the story of the snaking lines of voters of all demographics who decided to place their X as the first order of their day. COVID-19 protocols were put in place to ensure safety throughout the process as voters were seen getting their temperature taken and all surfaces were sanitized after each use. Early voter Dale Ford said the process was relatively easy.
I got here about 5:30, 20 to 6, and there was already a line. But I found moving through the process was relatively easy. The staff were friendly, they're helpful. I saw them actually helping a first-time voter, making the process relatively easy for her as well. So based on the number of people that we've seen so early in the morning, I think we can anticipate that there would be a relatively good voter turnout this time around.
Ms. Ford says she chose to vote early because she was expecting a longer process.
I usually vote maybe around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, because, you know, there's a big rush on mornings and then there's a lull during the day. But today, I decided to come out earlier because I anticipated that there will be a long wait. And I think a lot of people anticipated that as well. But other than that, the process pretty much remains the same. Of course, you know, you have to do your temperature check and you have to keep social distancing. But other than that, I found the process to be relatively the same. We have a very efficient voting system and it has not broken down this time.
Over in the constituency of St. Philip West, the Princess Margaret School had an equally large turnout for the morning session. Shane Jones, CBC News.
Sides 2022.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Let's check in as we started this morning with the parish of St. Lucie. Now we're heading to the Ignatius Bayer Primary School where our Sharika Griffith is reporting. Sharika, what else? Can you tell us how is it looking?
Well, Pearson, it's surprisingly quiet here at the Ignatius Bayer Primary School. I left St. Lucie Primary since last we spoke and decided to travel over this way. I'm going to switch cameras so you can see that there's virtually no line. Sorry, let me just get that out. So it's a bonus for people who are coming here to these stations to vote. There's LE1 and LE2 here, and those boxes are then split into A to H and, A to G and H to Z. So 4 polling stations here, but people are coming in. It's a very, very slow trickle here, but the bonus for people who are coming here to vote is that they're virtually walking in, getting their sanitizing done and their temperature checks, going to the young man at the desk to check to see where their polling station is in terms of where it is in the school, and they're able to walk and go straight in and vote. So and all the entire process is taking, I would say, less than 5 minutes. So that's definitely good. And you certainly want that. And given the context that we are in a COVID environment. So it's pretty quiet here, like I said. Since I've been here, maybe about the last half hour, I've seen a total maybe at most 20 people come. But like I said, from those who I've spoken to, it's a pretty seamless process. Nobody has had any issues. And I know you had asked me before in terms of the voter turnout, how things were looking compared to previous elections. I actually spoke to one of the young ladies before I left the St. Lucie Primary School to find out, because she's worked elections before, to, to get a comparison. And she said to me that, interestingly enough, things are pretty slow this year compared to previous years. She says, especially in the early morning period, she would typically see much longer lines of a lot of people coming to get that early voting in, but that has not been the case. That has not been the case. Good morning to you, sir. You're live on CBC TV 8. Say good morning to the viewers.
Good morning.
Good. Can you speak to us in terms of how the voting went for you today?
Very, very, very good.
So he's saying that it went very well. Can you tell us about the COVID protocols that you would have had to go through?
Very impressive. I think all the preventive measures are in place.
Great.
And I'm hoping that no one catch the virus, because the measures here, I think, is up to standard.
Great, thank you.
I think that the people who come in to vote should have no problem at all.
It should be safe.
Yeah, very, very safe.
Thank you very much, sir. You have a good day.
Pleasure.
Great. Okay, Pearson, so I'm going to leave it there. I'll be staying here for a few more moments, so perhaps I'll have another report for you. But for now, it's pretty quiet here at the Ignatius Bayer Primary School.
Sharika Griffith, thank you so very much for reporting from the parish of St. Lucie. It appears to be, don't want to say it's still early days, still to be a relatively low voter turnout, but that can all change in just about a moment of time. So polling stations are open. Voting is on as Barbados Today decides 2022. Remember to stay with all of the stations of the CBC and our social media platforms as well, as we'll continue to bring you wall-to-wall coverage of today's activity, ending with our broadcast this evening at 8 o'clock of Barbados Decides with our expert panelists. And we encourage you to stay with the CBC throughout the day for more on this. That's it for me today, a little over time, but we thank you so much for joining us. We do look forward to spending some time again with you soon. Take care now and all the best today.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you.